Rise for the pledge, please.
And you're on the Wakefield board? No. Oh, Milton.
I
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So with that, Milton.
First item on our agenda this evening is the board reorganization. You'll see in your packet on page 1.
Excuse me? May I make a statement before we do that?
Absolutely.
Even though I'm old chair, I want to say thank you to all of you for putting your faith in me. Even though we disagreed on some issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So see, the first position we have for nomination is the chairman. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that. Last year, I had, and I have now a bigger issue with it, but I'm going to state the same thing I stated last year, and that I don't believe that the chair of the joint board should also be the chair of their respective board. Especially with what we've gone through in the past. And with that in mind, I will nominate Bonnie Sayre as chair of the joint board.
Do I have a second? Discussion?
You up for that, Bonnie?
Yep, that's fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed? One abstention. Brandy, second.
And your name, sir?
Steer. I'd like to make a motion to nominate Andy Crone as vice chair of the joint school board.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Whoa.
Doesn't matter.
Second by Mrs. Walsh.
Wow.
Discussion?
You up for that, Andy?
I can take care of it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Abstain.
And next we have a few positions for the policy subcommittee. You'll see that last year we had 3 members on the policy subcommittee. And do I have a nomination for one of those positions or all 3?
Could I just ask a question about that? Because I don't remember the reasoning behind it, but maybe Bonnie or Steve does. It was you two were on the committee representing Wakefield, and I was representing Milton, but we had 2 Wakefield and 1 Milton, and I don't remember why.
I think it was just because we both wanted to do it. I think it was because we were both just interested in doing it. I don't think it was,
My other question is, did we ever meet?
no.
See, that's the problem.
And that, well, I guess that it's on the agenda later, but, yeah, I don't think
I don't believe we met.
I don't believe we met, number one, so I would ask what the date of our meeting was and what the date of the first reading was of these policies on the agenda.
Would you like for me to answer that now, Mr. Brown?
Well, I mean, we were kind of on it, so like I said, I knew it was on the agenda later, but while it was being brought up.
The policies that are on the agenda came to the board as a first reading to the full board, and that's where the issue was raised originally, that there wasn't a policy subcommittee meeting prior to those policies coming for the first reading. At the last meeting, the board did approve those policies for a first reading. In moving forward, we'll make sure that any of the new policies are coming to the subcommittee prior to coming to the full board for a first reading.
Did they come?
They did. At our last joint
They were
SAU
approved.
meeting, they were put in the packet, and we were that's when we brought up that we hadn't met, and why did they get in there? And then after discussion, we had decided that we all voted to allow it to be the
Correct.
first reading.
So tonight, those policies are here for a second reading. and then moving forward, the policies will come to the subcommittee prior to coming to the board for a first reading.
Okay, so for board members' information, I know when we originally signed up last year, I think it was because we were available to meet sometimes during the day and stuff, so I only can meet late in the afternoons now, so if anybody else wants to do it, depending on schedules. I can't imagine you'd have to meet more than once or twice, or, you know, a couple times, because there's not too many SAU policies.
Wanna do it again?
I don't mind doing it again.
I don't mind doing it again either.
Well, if you're gonna do it, I'm gonna let you do it, because then I don't have to be there. And because you're gonna bring everything to us anyway, so if you wanna do it, I'm gonna let you do it.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that Bonnie and Brandy, anybody else?
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Well, 1 second at a time.
All in favor?
All right.
But this time I'll turn it over to Ms. Seer as the chair.
Thank you. Public comment? Seeing none. Minutes of the last meeting? Does anyone have any corrections?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
All those opposed?
Do I have to abstain? Yes.
I would think you'd abstain, yes. And does anyone see why we can't do the non-public minutes too?
I'll make a motion to approve the non-public January 29, 2014.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstained? Ann?
Just, maybe you did before I get here, but did we do introductions? Did everybody meet?
No, but we should absolutely do that. Why don't we skip through the agenda and just pause for a minute and do introductions? You want to start?
Okay, well, I know everybody on your board. Ann Walsh, Milton.
Okay.
Andy Crone, Milton.
What will that, Wakefield?
Bonnie Seer, Wakefield.
Steve Brown, Wakefield.
Ralph Fogg, Wakefield.
Doug Shu, Milton.
Paul Steer, Milton.
Brenda Bass Milton.
Tercey, Superintendent.
Andrew D'Agostino, Business Administrator.
Ann Kebler, Student Service Director.
I'm Beth Selden, taking your minutes.
So
Thank you.
Paul's our new person, because you all know Brandy, of course.
Hello, Paul.
Welcome.
Good luck.
Don't jinx it.
6 correspondence.
Yeah, can somebody,
I put that in there. And the only reason I put it in there is for an FYI, because I thought it was an interesting occurrence down in Timberline, which Plastow in that area. That's all it's in there for.
Okay.
oh, all right, because I was looking, that's our attorney, and I was like, are now we gonna have to, owe a bill? I was like,
I don't believe so.
no, she's representing Timberland. Oh, okay, that's what I was like. What is this? Because now we need to send a bill to the ACLU.
Okay, financial statements.
I just wanted to point out on the SAU financial statement, it looks like the FICA is over budget. But that was corrected, it's actually a little bit under budget.
Okay.
Steve?
Yeah, Andrew, on page 2, 55,310, phone and maintenance. down $8,000. Are you calling the home planet, or?
No, we haven't received the E-rate reimbursement yet.
But E-rate just started this year, right?
This current year that we're in, and this is the first year, it started in 2014.
Right, but why would that make it under? Because that wouldn't really, this wouldn't reflect until the end of this year, because we didn't have E-rate last year. So why, that $8,000 should have nothing to do with E-rate.
We budgeted for the telephone, we took E-rate into consideration.
We knew about the E-rate while we were budgeting last year, so we intentionally budgeted low.
So, I don't have last year's in front of me, but that's what was, it was intentionally budgeted low
Right.
to begin with in the budget.
Because we had the E-rate information at the point we did the budget.
But, yeah,
I actually spoke to the E-rate representative today, and she's checking when we're getting our refund, because I've been emailing her weekly when we're getting that check, so she's hoping to be coming in within the next few weeks.
And with postage and meter, Andrew? That, any, why it's down 7 1/4? For any particular reason that you're aware of, or?
Well, part of it is that we've done a lot of mailings for the surveys and stuff that went out. Return address envelopes and mailing out all the surveys. That wasn't accounted for when we did the budget, because we weren't aware that was gonna happen.
And how about dues and fees?
Ann,
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Ann.
And what surveys are those?
Those are surveys for, we sent out surveys for the Wakefield School District to survey parents regarding options for area agreements. And we could look at what that cost was and bill Wakefield postage
Okay.
on that. We haven't done that at this point.
Okay.
That shouldn't be all of it, though.
No, it's not the full 725, no, sir.
I think that, actually, that audit shouldn't be 1/7 of that. So there's gotta be more than just one survey.
It's over budget.
Right,
Yep.
well, it's, yeah, so, yeah. But that's gotta be the result of more than one survey, because one survey, I think we were talking about, and it was only gonna be like $100 or something.
You also had the mailings for the residency forms.
All right, I mean, you just can figure that out. And how about the dues and the fees? The very last line on that page, 58,100.
Is that for the NHSA?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we could be only budgeted for.
Are there new ones, new fees that we didn't plan on, or?
Yeah, there were, this is for the New Hampshire School Administrators Association. The administrators in the central office, not all of them were budgeted to be part of that membership, and we made sure that all four, that's 4 memberships that are part of that. So that line's over because of that.
Just that one New Hampshire administrator?
Correct.
If you look on page 1, the conference and courses is under budget, so it kind of compensates for that overage.
questions? Any other questions? No? Okay,
Actually, can I
sure.
on Andrew, on the revenue, if there's any revenues, the revenues go back proportionally? And if there's any leftover revenues in the SAU budget,
It stays part of the SAU fund balance,
it doesn't go back?
no.
And that just rolls over year to year?
Anyone else?
Just for the board's information, right now, the fund balance for the SAU is about $175,000.
Yeah, 'cause I think that sorry, man. I think that question was asked at our last meeting, I think, what that fund balance was, I thought.
Yes, we wanted to have a rough idea of what it was. So it's 175.
Approximately, that's where it's at right now.
And
But it does, if it does get to some point, the joint board can vote to direct it back to the individual school districts.
Right. The state recommends that you keep at least 3 months of your budget as your fund balance.
Okay.
So we're not anywhere near that yet.
Okay. All right, well, just so we know.
So are we, so we have a balance of left of almost $67,000? So we're, do we foresee any problems toward the end of the year?
No.
So we're okay then?
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
old business, SAU withdrawal.
Yeah, I asked for this to be put on. After thinking about this for quite some, going on, close to 2 years, I think it would be worthy, for Wakefield to look into, the possibility of doing, SAU services on their own. Because I believe that we can do it for a lot less money than the $523,000 that we're giving to Milton. So I intend to look into that, or we will intend to look into that.
Okay, Ann?
Just a question where we are with that process, because I believe both school districts voted not to, but we got our letters in not in time to be put on the ballot for this past year.
They have to go
So-
on next year's ballot.
Okay, so that being said, if Mr. Brown wants to reopen that, what would he have to do? Because when we started it, we had to go on the ballot, didn't we? To ask the people if they were interested in us doing that. So what would be
The process at this point is that the committee's recommendation to not withdraw would go on both ballots in Wakefield and in Milton. And if the voters vote no on the committee's recommendation to not withdraw, then you automatically go into a planning committee to withdraw. And then that following spring, it would go on the ballot as to whatever the planning committee's recommendation would be. So bottom line, if the voters vote no on the recommendation, then you automatically go into planning for withdrawal, and then it goes on the ballot in the spring of that year.
Okay, so Steve has to just hope that it gets voted down, the recommendation gets voted down in March, and then a withdrawal plan has to be created.
Correct.
But there's nothing that can be done to change the recommendation at this point.
Not at this point.
Okay, I guess we'll just wait till March.
Right, and in the process, we can put together our own plans.
Well, I think you have to ask the voters in the town of Wakefield if they want to do that per SAR.
I believe because it hasn't been voted on, we don't have to.
Your committee made the recommendation, and it has to go, that recommendation has to go to the voters. And then, so that's the process according to the RSA. So once the voters vote on it, you can have the discussion, but then you, if the voters vote no, then you go into the formal planning of a withdrawal. So the earliest a withdrawal would happen would be for this 16-17 school year.
Right. But we can go through the process, we can look into this
It's voted down.
as of right now.
Not without a planning committee according to the RSA.
Didn't our committee suggest that we follow through with some
Absolutely.
certain steps
Mhm.
to be fully informed before it went to the ballot?
Conversations with Rochester, correct. And we've had those through the various agreement subcommittees.
Well, but we also had within that committee, there was discussion about Wakefield going on its own. So. Well,
I guess you would have to, as a Wakefield board,
I
look at
think
your
we'd have-
recommendation,
we'd
whether
have
that
to-
was sent to the state.
Yep. Because I have that right now, and at this point, I think that you might be able to do a little legwork, but I think that as of the letter from Virginia Barry, with our letter sent to her, we stipulated that we were not going to be moving forward.
right, but we can move forward, we can redo it again, even if it fails come March. You can do it again. You can go back to the voters and ask them again.
I think that
Yeah.
might be a little confusing to the voters to say,
I understand that.
to
but
ask for both things the same year, so.
But if we can show the voters that we can save a lot of money, I think they'll understand money.
So are you saying at this point in time, you're gonna do individual research to look into that?
Well, I hope that there will be more than just myself. Because that was one of the options during the SAU withdrawal committee, was that Wakefield going on its own, and we didn't really get the chance to look into it. And I would like to look into it.
Well, your planning committee said, recommended not to.
But that was part of the process, and we didn't really look into this. Nor did we look into Rochester. And it was my understanding, because I was on the committee, that we moved forward with continuing looking at our options. But at the moment, they weren't going to move forward, but to continue looking at our options. And that's what I intend to do.
Well, you guys can do what you want to.
Yeah.
I just check on it to make sure I wasn't doing anything that's not.
Mhm.
Agreed.
It does, I do seem to remember Howie saying that it was something that should be gained further information on.
I have all my notes right here. I'll go through them, I'll speak with Michael, and I'll speak with the rest of the board. Maybe we can put it on the agenda at our next meeting, and we can figure out what's legal, what's not legal, and what we should be doing and what we need to maybe be patient on. Not saying that we can't gather information information is always good, but that we may not be able to do anything about the information that we gather, and it may be passé by the time that we can. So,
I wouldn't say passé by the time we can, but.
well, we can look at that at our next meeting. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to policies, second reading and approval. ACE, procedural safeguards, non-discrimination on the basis of handicap or disability. Ann, I'm sorry.
That's it. So this is one that we didn't have before that we need to have.
Correct.
Right.
This is a required policy.
Okay. Alrighty.
Does anyone have any corrections, or would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Moving to policy BBAR, school board powers and duties.
Was this another new one as well?
This was a policy that was reviewed by the joint board that was sitting stagnant, basically, that never made it for a first reading.
Okay.
So it came as a first reading, our last meeting. That's the same with BBBHR, the next policy. Those were just sitting, never made it to the joint board after being vetted through the subcommittee.
Right.
Because I have a question on the treasurer on that one. I think we have a treasurer, do we?
Mhm.
Oh, well, you know, yeah, that's,
It's non-official.
Any discussion on BBAR? Motion to approve, anyone?
Make a motion.
Andy, second, okay. Bob, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to BBBHR, recognition of organization and operation of the School Administrative Unit, SAU School Board.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? IHBAA, determination of eligibility for specific learning disability.
Madam Chair.
Is this new?
This was new, this is a required policy that we have not had in the past.
I'll make a motion.
Randy, second? Andy, all those in favor?
Oh, yeah, question.
Oh.
We're adopting all these, but do we have to go back at our individual schools and adopt these also?
Madam Chair. No, sir. An SAU policy will cover both districts.
Okay. Well, wouldn't they go in our books, though?
They would go in your SAU policy book.
I don't think I've got one. I got my school board. I don't know.
We may need SAU policy books for our newer members from like 2 years back.
Okay.
But I don't think I have a book either.
I'm sorry. We'll do our best to
3 years back.
rectify that.
Yes, we
Usually,
will.
Madam Chair, who doesn't have a book? I know I don't. I got one for my individual one.
I don't have
SAU, I don't believe I do.
No. You don't have an SAU one?
well, no, I do. It's in the back of my regular policy book.
I was gonna say, I do, it's separated and color coded, so.
No, I thought they were.
I don't know where all you are.
No, and
Individual
then
boards.
when Kathy gives up updated policies. we're supposed
She
to
does
always
that.
in back.
Mine's separate, I got it.
Mine was always in the back. of my
Mr.
So,
Tercey.
if anyone's missing a SAU policy book, just let me know, and I'll put one together for you and get it to you.
Thank you.
Okay, I do have one question on this, because it says attached form, standards included in the attached form entitled New Hampshire Learning Disability Eligibility Checklist. So that form's gonna be attached.
It was attached originally, it
Right.
just wasn't attached this time.
Okay,
I just
gotcha.
noticed that as well.
Alrighty. I'm good.
So Brandy made a motion, Andy second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? Moving forward. Facilities, school dude,
I can speak to this, Madam Chair.
okay?
This is here, and Bob Adams is here to speak to it as well, and some background information possibly from Mr. DiAgostino. This is being presented to the joint board as one presentation for both districts. The budgeting will come from each of your individual operating budgets for this. This is a software program that is utilized to streamline the process for maintenance requisitions, where currently our process is it's all paper or via email or phone call, or so this allows us to track and monitor our facilities requests, particularly, and it gives us an indication as to how many requests are going in, and Bob will speak to all of this, but this is an effort to really to make our maintenance requisitions much more effective and efficient in order to get the jobs done in a timely manner. So Bob has plenty of information on it this evening to speak to, and these are the big questions.
Yeah, School Dude is a web-based software product, so it's a suite of products. And what I wanted to bring the update on is looking at how we handle work orders, which was mentioned, and preventative maintenance, and then how we schedule our facilities. And then the community use piece of molecular works in conjunction with facilities. The advantage of having something that's a web-based product is we don't need any local IT support. So your annual licensing fee that you pay pays for software updates. It pays for maintenance of the database, the redundancy of the database off-site, so all your data is protected. So that's what you get with your annual license. And you can basically, since it's a suite of products, you can buy whatever you want to for licenses, okay? It's probably good, it's probably been in use for probably some 10 years. It's currently probably a good 150,000 clients. K through 12 schools, is probably about 2/3 of that at 100,000 clients. It's used in small schools as well as large schools. Portsmouth uses it, Concord, Somersworth, to name some of the medium-sized schools. Currently, with work order maintenance, we'll get, it can be an email, it can be a paper form, somebody just sending you a text, it can be, anything, meet you in the hallway. And what happens is all of those don't get logged in, they certainly don't necessarily get fulfilled, and it's hard to give a user a feedback. So the web-based system, what would happen would be, somebody needs light bulbs changed in the classroom as an example, all right? So the teacher would just log into the system, they'd create a work order request, and the work order request then gets routed within the building, and we define the process of approval for that, okay? So if everything had to go to the building principal for approval, it would do that. So if somebody was asking for a whiteboard being replaced as an example, that may not necessarily happen, or perhaps not away, certainly if it's not within the budget, but that request would be logged.
Steve?
But for, excuse me, but for a light bulb, Bob?
Yes, it could be that.
I mean, to me, it seems like, you have to put in a request for a work order to change a light.
Yeah, and then you know that that event happened. You also know when, and you also know that it got closed. I would know that, so that if whoever was going to respond to that work order, in that case a bulb, okay, then that would get routed to my staff. If it was presumed to be that, but it was a ballast, okay, then the work order would actually be routed to an electrician. And they could be automatically sent then that work order request. I can consolidate it, so a few things can happen, in order to get some electrical work happening. So right now, this is all done under stand on trying to do Excel, some list that one would keep track of in order to make sure that those things get closed in a reasonable time. But to Carrie, did you have more to that question?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'd like some hands-on, before a work order is being sent out to an electrician or a plumber or anybody else, instead of having a software program determine when these work orders are gonna go out, because now you're gonna be generating bills, and I don't know if I think I like a more hands-on approach to it.
It doesn't eliminate the hands-on approach. You actually define the routing of how that part of it ends up working. So I can collect work of the similar nature like electrical that we mentioned, okay? And then those work orders then can go out, because some of that work might have to get done either off shift or maybe on an early release day. So it helps us coordinate what we're doing now. It also would give then the person that put in the original request an idea of when it's gonna be closed. Right now, they're second guessing it. They're asking us again when they bump into us in the hallway or sending us another email. If we schedule it to be done on a particular early release day, then that teacher will get a response so they know that that's when it was scheduled for.
Ralph?
Nope.
What's the proposed cost, and do you see this? I see this as a problem eliminating communication between the people in the building and the people that are supposed to maintain the building.
Yeah, it enhances the communication.
It enhances?
Yes. It's not meant to replace that communication. It's so that, you bump into somebody in the hallway and they said something's broke, like that light that we were just talking about. By the time you get back to your office or you pull out your iPhone or whatever, to keep track of that so you don't forget that that's there, okay? You end up missing stuff. If people log the stuff, then we have accountability. We track it, and we know how many events took place.
Go ahead, Ralph.
You've got logged complaints now that things aren't getting done here at Paul School?
I'm not saying that they're complaints, I said requests.
Yeah.
Right. So
I'm
we would still
really
know-
curious about the cost of this.
It's on the back page.
Yep.
Now,
Slow down,
can
Joe.
I ask, I have a couple questions. It says that on these that they go automatically to the provider. How do you negotiate, with an electrician or a plumber if the work order goes directly to them? And you said that you define where all the work orders go. Who defines those? Would it be you? Would it be Michael? Would it be the both of you together, or how does that work?
It would go to our prime contractors for those kinds of
Automatically, without you
things.
negotiating?
No, I corrected that piece, because there was a misunderstanding before. It gets aggregated so we know who it's assigned to be done. So it can be as automatic as you want to make it to be.
Bob?
Am I confusing you still?
Well, no, it
Who
just,
evaluates what needs to be done, though? So let's say it's a light bulb, and it gets logged in as that, but it's really not. Who determines that?
That's usually an internal person. That's one of my staff members that's evaluating that.
Okay, so if it's a ballast that gets logged in as an electrician,
You update.
but what if it's not the ballast?
You get third trip out.
and,
That's what I mean.
I think the concern is that maybe, custodian, they're just a regular custodian isn't putting in a work order for a big job without you knowing about it, taking a look at it. You're gonna have oversight on all the jobs going out and such, correct?
Well, I would too, but further in this, what's understood then too is then I mean, I can get automatic reports so that, I mean, that's like daily, so they can understand what new things have come in. And then I can see the aging of stuff too. And then a principal, vice principal, whoever needs access, my own boss, to the system would end up having a, you know, an understanding then of what outstanding work, you know, is available.
What systems do you have in place right now? Because if someone's meeting you in the hallway and whipping off a work order to you, how come you're not politely saying, you have work order sheets in your office, please get one into my box and we'll handle it as soon as we can?
We do, and what I said is that helps them bring together, you know, that kind of activity, it helps automate it. So rather than fill out a paper form that's gotta get routed somehow, some way, internally, it's just like sending an email. So
Emails
then
get
I would have
overlooked
that.
though, remember that.
Pardon?
Emails get overlooked, so just remember that, Bob.
Well, this is,
Well, that's why I have the report, remember I said, and the report, so that I can see that, and I can run those reports. I could get a daily report of what's open, look at the aging, right? I could see new stuff.
so for you, this
Yes.
is, this is a history database. So it
No.
lets you know when the light bulb was changed, what room, what,
Gives you
what,
that, too.
who did it, type of stuff like that.
It gives you that as well.
Which is the history for you, so you can see that, do I have to change this light bulb every month, type of thing.
Doug?
Okay, well, I have several questions for you, Bob.
Sure.
And the total cost on this plan is gonna be $6,369.29 for the first year.
I didn't get that far, but if you want to fast forward. What I did was, I had looked at the cost of 1 year and the cost of all of the training modules. And so what I did is, I think we're,
I can wait if you wanna go in sequence, but I had several questions.
what I did was, is the training modules are lifetime. So as employees change and more people need to be trained, then you have your web-based training, you have tech support that you can call, okay? So the training part of it is a one-time deal. So what I had done is, I looked at first year cost being now to end the year, to take all of the training and then prorated licensing for this year, okay? And then look at just the regular licensing for next year as of July 1. It's just a way of financing it. But the total amount is, like you said, adding the two numbers together.
But that annual fee is gonna be 3,535 each
Right.
year.
Yep.
But
And
initially,
it's shared, you know, because it's a system, SAU-wide, it's a shared system, so then we decide on how we want to break up the cost.
explain,
When you,
So, Mr. Deanne?
when you're talking 4 modules, you have a choice which modules you take. The first one is maintenance direct, the other one is PM direct, the other one is FS direct, and then community use.
That's
You have the
perfect.
choice of those 4 models.
Right, and others, but yes, those are the ones that, right.
I don't see our card as being this broke, really. What I witness here at the school, I mean, I don't know about Milton, but this seems to be another layer of fluff, costly, and unnecessary. Myself, that's my own personal opinion.
Now,
If I may,
do we have like a QuickBooks? What do we have for software available already in the building that you could be utilizing for this?
we don't, I mean, it's ADS that I'm using for just purchase orders when we get down to that level. But there's nothing for software.
You don't have Excel?
Not for me, yeah, I use Excel.
You use Excel, do you?
Yep.
And you have a personal email already?
Right.
And do you have work order forms in place? And like a
It-
procedure that you already follow with in-house for both schools?
It's basically work order and email, because like you said, when somebody hits us up on the corridor, we're always reminded them to fill out a work order or send an email.
So if you get an email, you're handwriting the work order yourself and putting it in your file
No.
of plumbing, electrical, whatever, and
No, I end up sorting that out in another piece of software to try and keep track of the things that I need to cluster like that in order to work on.
Excuse me, Bonnie,
Sure, Doug.
I'm still confused on that last page a little bit. Let's go to Milton at the top of the list, maintenance, utilities, insurance. So you're telling me these two items and then Wakefield's gotta pay $944.76? That's each year? And exactly what are those? That $2,834.29.
What you're seeing here, Doug, is that the first section, the 283429, is the startup cost to get the system in place. And Bob is saying, because we're doing it, you know, Milton pays 2/3 of the maintenance cost, and Wakefield pays 1/3. That's how he broke it up, so if you see
That I
that.
understand.
But what about, why snow removal? Why is
Yeah.
that on there?
The source of the dollars, we didn't get to.
That's where they're
explain
getting the
slide.
money from.
The
That's what the lines they would be taking it out of if we
For this
approve.
year.
Oh, huh.
So, is it my understanding it's 35 for a startup?
That's
And
the annual
then-
cost.
Pardon me?
That's the annual cost after the start, after the $2,800 startup.
Okay, so then what's the startup cost?
The 2834, that's what we're saying, if we take it out of this year's current budget to get the system in place, and then starting in July of 2014, we'd be paying $35 every year.
This is startup, and this is July 1st. Andy?
So the startup is to get the software in, get it installed, get everyone trained in it, and so on and so forth. And then after that, annually, we won't be paying 6,000, we'll be just
No, it'll
paying
be
the
35.
35. So we're not paying $6,000 every year, we're only paying the
No.
35. But my question is, if we have the software installed, why are we paying 35 annually to keep it?
Would you be better off just
It's the
getting a...
licensing. is that-
Well, why
So
don't you
you're
just
up-
get QuickBooks then? And you can do work orders, you can do purchase orders, you can keep track of everything, and, I mean, and you pay $100 for it and you got it forever. I guess I don't understand.
Because there's a lot more that he hasn't had the opportunity to explain yet here either. You know, facility scheduling, the next 2 pages that he hasn't got to, community use and stuff, and, right, Bob?
Yes.
Maybe we should
The
finish.
second module is preventative maintenance, so bear with me, sorry. But with preventative maintenance, all of the work that we do to describe what work has to be done for a piece of equipment, which could be an e-handler on the roof, it could be a buffer that we use on the floor. You define what's required for the preventative maintenance for that, and then that automatically creates the work orders, which helps you keep track of when stuff is due.
Andy?
May I ask a question, Madam Chair? Are they gonna have little portable computers with them to be able to sit there and automatically do this, or if something breaks, they gotta run down, log in and do? How does that get?
Who are you talking about?
Whoever's working on preventive maintenance, say a buffer breaks.
We're just gonna print something out. I mean, you've got tools or whatever going on.
Right, but what I'm saying is when something happens, the person's working with a buffer on the floor.
Yes.
Buffer breaks.
Yeah.
Do they stop what they're doing, go log in and do something, and then, or do they keep a
That would-
notebook with them, or?
In that particular case there, that unit gets tagged, it gets evaluated, and then a decision.
But what I'm saying is, how does it get, someone's gonna have to stop what they're doing, and then go and do a quick email or whatever it is into the system, correct? So what I'm saying is if something breaks midstream, do they keep a notebook and log everything down, and then go and report it when they're done, or? I'm not following how the reporting process goes with the guys on PM.
On something like that with my team, if, in that case, when the piece of equipment failed, whatever was the issue with it, what they're gonna do is they're gonna end up letting me, or in this case here, Joe, know about that. Okay, we evaluate that, okay, and then figure out whether or not that's gonna be something that we can just order a part for, or whether or not we have to schedule a pickup. If we schedule a pickup for it, then we can, that's a work order. So then I can see it, Joe knows it's flying, it's going out the door, we keep track of it, okay? We know what work got done to it, all right? So when it comes back, we would have that information. The things that you learn as far as preventative maintenance, you know, at least you have a place for this information to be, so whomever is working on that piece of equipment, you know, knows the history of it then.
Mr. Tercey would like to say
Mr. Tercey?
And I'd like for the joint board to keep in mind, this can be a decision for each individual board, because it would be impacting your operating budget. So this is an introductory to, a very basic introduction to what the services could be provided for school dude. If each board would like to bring this back to your facility subcommittee, you can let me know that, and we can put it on a facility subcommittee agenda for future discussion.
So, are you saying that either board can take it and the other board can say no to it? Is that?
Yes.
So if Milton wants it and Wakefield doesn't, that's
Correct.
And we'll still be spending the money on it.
No.
No.
No,
It's
it
an
comes out.
It's a SAU expenditure, isn't it?
No, it's not. As I said earlier, it's paid out of each individual district operating budget, so it's not an SAU expenditure. It's being presented to both boards because it would eventually be presented to both boards, so we are covering in a joint board meeting.
Well, it would get split, wouldn't it? If we both decided.
It's 2/3 and a
Can we
third.
bring it back to the
Right.
facilities committee?
Sure?
Doug?
Well, then, I think Pete kind of touched on it. So if only one school takes it, that's gonna increase the cost for that school.
That's correct.
So that's gonna be that 35. Is that right?
No.
Yeah.
If Milton decides to take it, we're only gonna be paying the 23, or
No,
will we pay the whole 35?
it'll be the full amount, because
Yeah.
the system is for both schools.
We're gonna buy out 4 modules.
That's why
But if
you're
you're not gonna have, okay.
But you're still paying the same amount for the license.
It won't be the split.
Ann?
I kind of like it, but one of the things that, I think it's going to cut down a lot on Bob Adams' time of paperwork. You know, it's a software program that helps facilitate the efficiency of a department, and there's very few departments nowadays that don't have a software program. The facility scheduling, you know, it may not be big up in here in DePaul School, but I know with all our things that we have going on at Newt in the elementary school all the time, that, Brandy, you would know that with recreation, you know, recreation department's always scheduling things for the school. I think it's great. That's my thought.
But if we have a problem with the software, who do we call? Who's gonna maintain it for us?
School dude does.
Now, is there gonna be a fee to come in and do that? Is there any game?
It's maintained off-site, it's a web-based, you just go to the website, you're not actually running software on your computer.
And you get no fees for that?
You're
You can
actually
run it
buying a
on any
license
device.
though.
Anything, any device that's web-enabled, so a smartphone, an iPad, any computer, obviously.
So who stores all your history then? If it's not,
School Doodle gets.
It's a
There's
cloud.
There's
So-
no internal IT, it's all
so
offsite.
what do you do if School Dude after 10 years decides to close and you lose all your records?
You can pull data off the system.
You can pull it off and store it?
Yep.
Well-
Because you can, bring it into Excel.
I'm really cynical.
Go ahead.
How often do we have other people being used as a scapegoat? Somebody wasn't able to do get a job accomplished, well, we can't get a hold of these folks. We call them, nobody's returning our calls. It just seems to me to be added expense to a budget that's overinflated to begin with, and we're asking somebody else to do a job. We're getting paid, I mean, not we all, but we're getting paid to do a certain job. it's not a whole lot of tasking to do, scheduling of events at a facility. We're making sure that the light bulbs are changed in a timely fashion, filling the toilet tray, the toilet paper container. These things are part of the job, paying big bucks for the job to get done. The taxpayers are. And it just seems to me to be another cost that's unnecessary.
And
I would just like to point out that if Mr. Adams wasn't spending so much time on paperwork and doing all that data input himself into Excel programs, that he would have more time on his hands to be monitoring what's going on in the schools and things like that.
is this the best system that you found that you think would be the most successful? Have you researched maybe something that, maybe it's something that you buy once and maybe we do store the information? Have you looked at any other different options?
There are other systems, but this is by far the one that's most widely used. I mean, that's why I mentioned.
And do you have examples of where it's been used?
Somersworth, Concord, Portsmouth.
Doug?
Madam Chairman, so that would we sign a contract?
Yes.
Now, my question is, it still hasn't been answered. If we have a problem with the software, is there a fee to repair it?
No.
If we have any issues?
No, there's no additional fees to
That's
us.
it.
If there's a bug in the software, it would be like Microsoft Word, if you will. Then the company would repair it.
I'd like to see the
The automatic,
contract.
once the fix is done, and anyone, when they log into the software, gets the latest and greatest application.
Okay. Brandy?
Is it software we're purchasing, or is it a web-based program that we're purchasing?
We're purchasing the right to use a web-based program.
Okay,
Is
so,
that a sentence?
yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
Doug?
So how many, how can I say this? How many requests do you get within a day or within a week for repairs or et cetera do you have a number?
There's probably anywhere from,
How many a year?
it can vary, certainly in the day, there's probably anywhere from, probably a dozen or 2 dozen in all the times.
Every day?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of little things, and some of those things there are stuff that ends up eating up because somebody say, hey, you didn't get to such and such. Well, yeah, I forgot. You know? And there's a
Mr.
lot of
Tercey?
that.
I can speak from experience with School Dude as a school principal. We had a paper process originally, and the paper requisitions were being put in the facilities director's mailbox. And the facilities director is out and about throughout the district, and Comeau would access those facilities maintenance requisitions. We brought in School Dude because, take for example, in one school you might have 7 teachers that need some sort of maintenance in their classroom, and that could be inputted directly into School Dude, and the facilities director then prints out those requisitions for that day and then dictates to his staff what needs to be taken care of or what needs to be looked at, and then the staff comes back to the facilities, or the facilities director also analyzes that and then determines the next steps compared to tracking down the paperwork. There's also a cost analysis to it where you might say we've changed 50 light bulbs in this one specific area, this one school, and this has been the cost. It's used for budgeting purposes. So I can speak from experience on the software aspect compared to the paper aspect and the emails. It works quite well through this process. And I experienced it when it first came on the market.
My other question is that, who's going to enter these requests and who's going to issue them? Is Bob going to need a secretary?
Mr. Tercey?
Anybody trained on the software license can enter. So, as I said earlier, I even had teachers that were entering their requisitions, because it's actually a very easy process. So if there are 4 desks in their classroom that need repair, the teacher goes in and says, I need 4 desks repaired in my classroom.
Who's gonna go in and check them and then issue them?
Then Bob would say, I need such and such to go into Mrs. Banks' classroom and look at the 4 desks that she said needs to be fixed. And then they look at it, they assess it, and see what needs to be repaired.
Well,
So, training could be offered to teachers and other staff members.
Correct?
Who's gonna pay for the substitutes while the teachers are in the classes? It's just,
It's not a training that we would have as a regular professional development opportunity that you might be thinking about, where you're talking about a half day out of the classroom or a full day out of the classroom. This is something that usually takes about an hour that you could do after school.
Andy?
good to
I was
see
gonna
you.
say, there's a lot of in-services after school. I know my wife's a teacher, and a lot of times they'll go to these things where something new is in the school. They'll sit there and they'll go over it with them. They'll go in detail. They'll have the computer up. They'll show them how things are done, how to log it. They'll even let them do hands-on with it. I've seen it in, like I said, when I was in Farmington as the SRO, there's a lot of things that I would even be introduced to as well on the off hour, and it was part of my salary, so.
Steve?
Just some of the examples that were given, Concord, Manchester, Somersworth, where, I mean, I don't think either school district or, or even both together come even close to Concord, Manchester, or Somersworth, and I just really don't see the need for this at all.
Dan?
Well, why don't we just take it back to our own facilities committees and go from there?
Do we need a motion to do that?
No?
Perfect, so we're gonna move ahead. Thank you for the presentation, and I look forward to, I'm gonna actually go online and take a peek at it myself and see what it's all about.
They have pretty lengthy movies on each of the modules.
Great.
So, I mean, some of them are 35 minutes, 45 minutes long, so it gets pretty in-depth. Some of you might right away, if you take that path, go, oh, geez, it's all about some college or darn thing. But again, you have to understand that even colleges are made up of small buildings too. Some of them are smaller than this building.
Sure.
And each of those buildings have needs. They have work order requests that need to happen. They have preventative maintenance work that needs to be scheduled. They have unplanned work that has to be tracked. They have materials that have to be bought in order for those work orders to get closed. So even in those big campuses, they do have little buildings. So please keep that in mind. That it's trying to wrap software around that, trying to add some sanity to what is very often a chaotic day in the world of working in the facility.
Thank you very much. Ralph?
What is the website to visit this and get in?
It's schooldude.com.
Okay, thank you.
Google it.
I'll get on the Google right away.
Anyone else in regards to School Dude? Are you gonna stay, or are you gonna shillelagh out
Do
of
you
here?
have anything else? Or?
I don't believe we have anything else tonight, if you'd like to go home to your family. All right, thank you so very much.
Thank you both.
Back Bay Networks contract,
This is, it's a time for us to review a technology networking organization. The contract, we've been utilizing Back Bay, so it's time to review this agreement because our current contract is up. So the only changes to this agreement, you'll see on the, let's see, page 28, the back page of the agreement. The only change you'll see in there is we added Power School as another responsibility, because I actually had met with Back Bay and mentioned that we need more support with our Power School system, and they agreed to put more support within the contract itself for Power School. And that's the only change you'll see, and it's the cost did not change as well.
Ralph?
When's the last time this contract was put out to bid?
I don't think it ever was.
Okay.
3 years ago.
I'm not sure.
Excuse
Three
me,
years
Andrew?
ago?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
It was
you.
put out to bid about 2.5 years ago.
Can we put it out to bid again? Is that something that we should or should not do?
How do you, Michael?
You, obviously, you could go back out to bid for it. I do feel that going out to bid and potentially bringing in a new provider, we would be going backwards in the sense that we're currently working with a provider that installed our networking system, made it more effective, more efficient, and knows the system very well. And in order to bring someone back in, you might have someone come in that would want to actually change the system that we currently are using, plus we'd have to get accustomed to utilizing a new support network. And I've been very happy with Back Bay. They work well with the staff. They've always followed through on the requests that we have, either through central office or through the building administration and teachers. So I'm pleased with the efforts that Back Bay has put forward. So to answer your question, you can go back out to bid. However, I feel that if there was another company to come in, it could impact our current momentum in technology.
Is there a percentage increase for the new contract?
No, it's the same price as.
Same price?
Yep, we kept it right at the same.
Mr. Brown?
But then on the other hand, Mr. Tercey, you could get someone else that's equivalent or could quite possibly be even superior to what we have now. So you really can't go on based on that, you know, we're gonna automatically go backwards if this were to go out to bid. That's not necessarily true.
Mr. Tercey?
I didn't say that we would automatically go backwards. I said it could possibly hinder our progress.
How do you feel that the staff and yourself, do you believe that Back Bay Networks is doing a stand-up job for us? Is it worth the money that we put into them? Are they giving us the best service they can for the buck?
I would say yes, and particularly hearing the history of what they came into and fixed. I'll use the word fixed. There's a lot to be said there to get something that needed to be addressed, and they addressed it well. It's running very well at this point. Any type of problems that we run into on a daily basis are addressed immediately. So there's something to be said, in my opinion, about familiarity and a comfort level with professionalism that comes with a company that you work with consistently.
And the price is $133,600?
Correct.
Is that right on page 25? That would be the new contract?
Correct.
That was my request. I didn't see that.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
And based on that price, that's what we had put into our fiscal year 15 operating budgets.
Mhm.
15, 16?
Fiscal year 15, so 14, 15.
Any other questions or concerns at this time?
But wouldn't you think during the summer months our rates would be cheaper?
I would think that they would still be working on all of the product. One, you still have to update everything that you have to get ready for the next year. And you still have to supply all the services that you supply because our SAU and the schools are still open. Well,
Why can't these folks provide the same service that Mr. Adams was asking for?
This company specifically works with networking, not with designing software for intended uses.
They don't already have software design that'll allow a facilities director to...
And that's why you'll see in there, we speak with them about providing supports for Power School. However, that's not their responsibility. but they provide that support for us because it is a software that we use for our student information system. So they actually reach out to some of the more experts in the field for Power School and bring that information back, and they even train their own staff based on our needs. So it's, they adjust to what we need, however, they don't design software for intended uses.
In your time here, Mr. Tercey, or even Andrew or Ann, has there been an instance where we had an issue with the computers and the networking system that we had to hire outside of them because they couldn't repair it for us or assist us with it?
My understanding, it's only hardware, so let's say there's a monitor that needs to be fixed, or there was I think it was a monitor, simple example, that we had to hire out to come in and fix. So they work more on the network aspect
Yep.
compared to the hardware.
But have
However,
we had any network issues that had to be outsourced?
No.
No.
No. Well, that's a good thing. Ann?
All I can say is that complaints from the schools about not being able to get online and have dropped dramatically, and it's a really nice, right now, that our computer systems are working as well as they are.
Now, did Milton boost up, like we boosted up our internet here? Did Milton do that as well?
They get
Yes.
fiber optics.
Substantially.
Oh, you did get fiber
Yes, we
optics?
did.
Oh, you're lucky. So you're even better off than we are right now.
Much better.
Well, that's good. So that alleviated a lot of the problem of not being able to get on right there.
Right.
We just didn't have enough power,
Bandwidth.
bandwidth.
Mhm.
Mr. Brown?
I still think though, for $133,000 that, you know, information is always good. And to put it out to bid, at least you have that information to be able to make an informed decision. I forget the particulars of how Back Bay got in here, but wasn't it a friend of a friend or something like that? Someone knew something of someone and they asked them and they,
We checked with other schools who they were using and invited them to give us bids, and there was a company in Portsmouth, I forget the name of the company, that came in, and they weren't familiar with Apple products like Back Bay was. But most of the schools that have outsourced services at IT have been using Back Bay in the area. And that's why we went with them, not because anybody knew them.
I thought someone knew them and asked them to come in or something.
Well, they work out of Somersworth, and from my own experience, because my wife works at Somersworth, she recommended them, but that's not why we took them. We interviewed two companies, and Back Bay was the one that Gail Kushner and myself had found did the best for us, and at the best price.
I think I was on the board then.
Well,
Mhm.
well, I
You must
just,
have been too.
I don't see the harm in putting it out to bid.
Ann?
My only concern with that, Steve, is, if we were, buying something, like a new bus or new computer hardware, that's one thing, but we're looking at a company that if another company comes in and starts changing things, it is gonna severely impact the way the computers are running.
But once again, it's always going that it's gonna get worse.
No,
Well,
I'm saying
it
it's a
may not
potential.
get worse. It may be the same or even better for less money. Who knows?
Ralph?
There's a chance that Back Bay may say, you know what, we can take a 10% cut if we're bidding on this.
They're not even giving us an increase this year in their routing service.
Good point.
Doug?
Now, what portion is Milton and what portion is Wakefield on this 133? 100?
I don't have it with me, but it's part of your, if you go to your information services section of your budget, it's under contracted services.
I'll have it. Let me see.
The SAU
Under
is
the
picking up
joint.
the bulk of the cost, about $90-something thousand is the small portion that goes to the districts. That's in your operating budget.
And then there's a portion of that for the SAU too.
That's why I said a big portion of that 133 is the SAU.
SAU.
So there's three contributors.
each district pays part of it, and then the SAU budget's part of it.
Technically, we're putting the money in the SAU, really, it's still us.
Mhm.
But is it broken down to a percentage where Milton has, what, 3 buildings and we have 1? And then the SAU building?
I'd have to look at the budget. I honestly don't recall how we broke that down. I think it's, the bulk, like I said, is paid through the SAU, then half is paid through Milton, and half is paid through Wakefield. I mean, when you're talking about soft networking, it doesn't matter how many buildings you are. It's the number of servers you're dealing with, and so I think we just went half and half of the difference, which is, again, is a small portion. It's maybe $15,000 per district that they're paying for in their operating budget.
So what line is that on the joint board? We pay out of that.
On the SAU budget,
It's on the bottom of page 1,
106?
technical services.
106, 655?
but that's made up of more than just back pay. That's also backups and,
But Back Bay is in that technical services line, correct?
right. Securities for the system.
So would anybody like to make a motion in regards to the Back Bay Network?
I would like to make a motion to approve the Back Bay contract for another year.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Hi.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? No, opposed? Okay, so 7-2. Fails for lack of support. Do we have another motion then, gentlemen?
Make a motion just to ask to have an RFP, request for a proposal published. Whatever local newspapers we need to publish.
Yeah, let's have to do that.
I have to.
What is that in regards to, do we not have time? Are we cutting it too close?
It's going to be very close,
Who's the same one as it?
We're only talking about 8 weeks.
so we'll have to turn it around very quickly.
Not without a second in my motion.
I'll second the motion.
So when does the contract end? Sorry.
That's okay. I believe the contract ends June 30th.
Correct. The end of the budget season.
And let me just, if I can, so we're gonna have to have companies come in here, look at our whole system.
Walkthroughs.
Isn't that printed out on, I mean, the service provided should be on a set of documents. You get your billing and stuff like that, it tells you what service you're providing to a school district. It's on paper. So why can't bidders or potential competitor take the service that's being provided, that's already written on a piece of paper, look at it and understand it? They don't have to see that you can redact the prices and stuff like that, but they should be able to see what is existing, what service is being provided, and base their bid on that. Go ahead, Andy.
I will say this, no company's gonna wanna come in under what another company's doing and take verbatim for what's on paper. They're gonna wanna come in, they're gonna see where lines are traced, where servers are, what they're gonna be providing. They've gotta draft up a plan, what it's gonna take
But
to provide all those services of what's being currently provided.
somebody seeking services has the ability to say, this is what we want. This is what we're getting.
But they still
This
are
is
gonna
what
be
we
looking at the
expect.
paper. They wanna come in and look at all the facilities, do a plan, do a map, what it's gonna take to provide those things. And it will take time. You've got to go in and you've got to do a thorough walk down of that, all of those facilities, to what it's going to take.
I just want everyone to know that just in my notes, when we were doing the board, I actually put, it says that it expires 2014 and that negotiate is what I have written in my notes for the contract for when we were going through the budget season.
To negotiate a new contract, which they did, with no increase. And more service.
You all right?
Madam Chairman, the question I need to ask is if Back Bay doesn't get the contract, or is anything they'd remove out of the systems?
Oh, I'm quite sure there would be. I would think that they would cut services off pretty lickety-click and they would be gone and their
I
materials
meant the
would be
equipment
gone.
also that they've installed also.
Well, I would think we would have bought any equipment that went into the buildings. I don't think we're renting any equipment.
I don't really know.
No,
But I do know our service would end June 30th, the end of the contract, the service is over, so.
Could that question be asked, Madam Chairman?
Yeah, any question can be asked.
I won't have an answer for you, Mr. Shute, to base your vote on this evening.
Well, that I realize, but in
We
the
are in a
future.
time crunch, is the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to
Andrew has a comment.
Andrew.
Can I make a suggestion to the board? I know that we're talking $133,000 here. Because of the time frame, there's no way we're gonna get a contract secured by June 30th. That we go back Bay for this 1 year, and then we start this process earlier, like in January next year after the holidays, and put out an RFP and get quotes. Because I think we'll only be hurting ourselves by trying to do that now when there's only 8 weeks left of the year.
Understandable request. We still have a motion on the table that we would have to have, Ralph made a motion and it got seconded, so we do have to move.
Doug
seconded.
Doug seconded.
So we have a motion to request that an RIP
RFP,
RFP.
request for proposal.
be sent out for service, for network services, technology services. All those in favor?
Ralph and I were discussing something.
I'd asked Doug if, considering Andrew's input, I'm considering withdrawing my motion, but I
Okay.
would need Mr. Shute to withdraw his second first.
I withdraw my second.
Okay,
With regrets, I will withdraw my motion.
okay. Mr. Brown?
This is dated September 23rd, 2013.
So I had asked them for a contract when we were doing the budget, so we could budget exactly what they were gonna charge us.
Well, if we had a contract from September 23rd, 2013, why are we only getting it April 30th of 2014?
You had it in your budget packet, as part of the budget presentation.
So this isn't a one-year contract from the date that it was signed, from September 23rd?
No, it's 1 year from July 1st, 14 to June 30th, 15.
But I would think that the budgeting process is something different than actually approving a contract. And if we had a contract from September 23rd of last year for budgetary purposes only, fine. But now here it is April 30th of 2014, and now we're using a contract from last September, and now we're being asked to approve this contract April 30. I have a problem with that. This should have been, and then to say, well, and now April 30th, we don't have the time to turn it around. I mean, why wasn't this brought to us before April 30th to approve the actual contract and not just for budgetary purposes? I don't, you know, and then now to say you don't have enough time to turn it around, I don't think that's fair.
It says here on page 23 of the packet, during the term of this agreement for 1 year after the cessation of all services. Does that mean the term of the agreement isn't for a year dated September 23rd? Is that what that, I mean, isn't this a 1 year contract, I guess is my question. And if it was dated September 23rd, wouldn't it be good until September 23rd?
Ann?
23, I believe. I just saw something in the, it was under confidential information, I started reading down
Under
through it.
11. Middle page, during the term of this agreement. And it's large capital at the top.
So when I guess when I started reading that, I automatically thought that if it was a 1 year contract, the term of the contract was 1 year and signed on the 23rd of September. It gives us till the 23rd of September.
I believe that this is, I don't believe that this is a signed contract. I think this is a copy of our contract with the new negotiated items in it, as well as the price for the founding year that is used strictly for budgetary reasons, to the best of my understanding.
Correct.
And could we have used this if we knew that we wanted to negotiate? But it would have been us that would have said, Michael, we want to negotiate all coming contracts, and we didn't until today. So,
I would
Simply
disagree
notes.
by your own notes.
well, I think he didn't, I think that he did negotiate it because he's got Power School in here. And negotiate doesn't necessarily mean
Another company.
another bid. Ann?
I kind of just want to agree with what you just said, and shame on all of us except the new guys who didn't ask to have it put on the agenda before this in January, or, I mean, we don't meet that often, especially at the beginning of the year, and sometimes these things just spring up on us, you know, when we first get together, but we should have said we need to negotiate it.
Mr. Brown?
I would totally disagree with Mrs. Walsh's statement because I believe this is the second year in a row that I've asked specifically for that. And here we are, April 30th, 2014, 7 months after a contract was produced for budgetary reasons, and now 7 months later, we're now being asked to ratify a contract, and I've been asking for that for the past 2 years, so.
Well, I guess I understand that you asked for it, but maybe that wasn't the total vote of the whole board, so that didn't happen. I understand that you may personally have asked for it, but I'm not sure what the vote of the entire board was. So
But there was discussion about doing this for the last 2 years, and
Okay.
it hasn't been done. And now it's at the last hour, it just seems like it's being rammed down our throat. And that's not the way it should be handled. So I will be voting no.
Okay. Mrs.
Well,
Welch?
let's all put it on our calendars to bring it back up in
January.
January.
September.
Well, even like
September.
November, December,
Yep.
start talking about
September.
it so we can have it all scheduled for January.
So, Mr. Tercey, could you please put on your list of many items to remember, as will we, that we, with contracts coming due, we would like to have the time frame available to revisit negotiating and looking at them before, you know, ample time. So if we'd like to revisit them and out in different ways, we could.
So, for clarification, this is not a one-year contract starting on September 23rd,
It's a
2013.
one-year contract, and if you look on page
25.
25,
Yeah,
12-month cost, the district IT support of $133,600 for the term of July 1st, 2014 to July 30th, 2015, is what the contract specifically says, although it's dated differently. Mr. Brown?
Yes, and do we have your statement, Madam Chair, reflected in the minutes so that April 30th, 2015, we're not coming down with the same excuse?
I think that would be outstanding, Mr. Brown.
So that'll be recorded in the historical record this time? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam
Doug?
Madam Chairman, why can't we just go to October and put it on October 29th on a calendar as an agenda item? And then that way, because that'll be the 5th Wednesday for that month.
And I guess I'm still figuring out and trying to make, I'm glad you think next October.
It's
or
coming
This
October.
coming October. I still am trying to, do we meet every 5th week when there's a 5th week? Is that how we meet?
I would still request that it be reflected in the minutes.
I think,
this meeting.
we think that that's fine.
Absolutely.
Would you like to go on and put it on the calendar on the agenda for October 29th? We have to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
now we need to, since the motions were withdrawn,
we need a motion to what we do for Back Bay Networking
but
Technology
does it have to be
Services.
someone that voted against it to,
Yes,
motion to reconsider?
I'll second.
all in favor?
Was that a motion?
Well, it's a motion to reconsider. I guess it's second, you want to open it up to discussion for a second, but
Andy? Oh, aye. Okay, discussion.
it is just, I do feel crammed on it.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, it is a service, it's necessary, I agree with that.
Andy?
I'm just gonna say that people that have worked in the field, I worked World Bank in DC doing fire alarm and security work. Anytime new companies come in, I worked for one company, Hinkles and McCoy, which switched over to Security Plus Incorporated. When Security Plus came in, they had 26 buildings they had to walk. I mean, walk every building, look at every fire alarm system, every device, computer systems, how it all hooks in. Every company that was coming in to make their bids had to do that, walk, do site walks, everything. It took months. And yes, they did look at it at the beginning of that last year, that contract. So you're talking 5, 6, 7 months to do their walks, do their proposals. And we don't have that kind of time. I will agree with what Steve's saying. And Rob, I don't like things jammed down my throat either, but if it's gonna take time, these companies aren't gonna wanna sit there and go, oh, well, oh, that's what they're doing. Okay, well, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna wanna see in-depth reports, how much was done, reviews, everything. And it does take time. I don't like it myself,
Right.
but you're right.
But we don't have 16 buildings either.
I understand that, but they
I mean,
still.
they do, absolutely.
Right,
I
it still
agree,
takes
but-
time, months, to plan and put proposals together. It does. Even in a couple
Well,
of things.
at this point, we would have 2 months.
Okay.
So is there anything that we know the money that we pay is a concrete, something we can keep? Or is this really just a rental fee? This $133,000, it's just the cost of renting the services? Is there a way of finding out what we're getting for our money that we can keep and what we're getting for our money that we have to give back at the end of the contract?
All the equipment is owned by the district. Back Bay doesn't own anything, they just service it. So if they left, there would be nothing coming back with them other than their own computer that they have on site for themselves.
Their services are outlined in the contract.
Okay.
on page 23, there's a ownership clause.
Okay.
And it says unless the scope of the work under the agreement changes, then everything remains yours.
I mean, because that was one of my concerns when I went through the RFP motion. All
No,
right.
you own everything, it's right there, ownership clause right there, in.
That answers my question.
Upon signing a delivery agreement and paying all amounts due, client shall own the deliverables produced under this agreement. Unless the scope of the work has changed. And we're at the end of the agreement now, so I don't believe anything's changed, so we would own everything that's in place as of today.
Any other comments, questions? Do we have a motion?
I think there's a comment right here.
I know, obviously, this is my first time doing this, based on maybe an oversight that the board missed on the first time of trying to negotiate a contract, it would be crazy to let this expire in the meantime.
Agreed.
So I would hope we're not talking about, okay, it's all ours, let's end this contract and then go on our own and try to find something over the next 5 or 6 months. And in the meantime, the whole system breaks down. I mean,
Bob?
Based on the time frame, I believe that we're gonna have to sign this contract for another year.
Yes.
The service is working for us, everything's being okay,
and it's the same price as last year.
and it's actually a cheaper price because they added stuff
And
to
they're
it.
adding something.
So it's, they could have added a higher cost to this, but they didn't. So based on what we're talking about, I think we're gonna have to go with this, for another year.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second this.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Passes. Back Bay Networking Technology Service Agreement is approved for the 2014-15 year, with it being put on the agenda for reevaluation October 29th, 2014. And reflected in the minutes, please.
So we
Thank
don't-
you so very much.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
we don't need to give Mr. Tercey permission to sign that contract, or is he all set?
Oh, I believe Mr. Tercey has permission to sign that contract.
Approved by the board.
So now we are going to non-public. Can I have a motion, please, to go into non-public following,
I'll make
Andy?
that motion.
RSA 91A 32B. Oh, we don't have public comment at the end, but I could take public comment from you.
About the school dude,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't hear a cost-benefit analysis. If you're gonna look at any program that you're gonna purchase, I would think that you should have heard how much it's gonna save and how much it actually being, how much it's costing him to do his job now. So you can compare. It didn't seem like you had a good comparison. That's it.
Thank you.
My point, that was my point.
Anything further in public? We have a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A 32B. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Brown, yes.
Fog eye.
Doug, aye.
Paul, aye.
Walsh, aye.
Cronin.
Well, and I.
Sierra, aye.
Can we take a short recess?
We will take a 5-minute recess.